A Court of Fairies and Fiction. Akafath Girls Podcast. Hosts Mel Liv and Aka. A bookish theory and discussion podcast for the Akatar, Crescent City, and Tug series, as well as other romantasy books.
Bonus episodes Beyond the Beast.
All right, welcome everybody. Happy Tamlin week. I'm here
happy
with
Tamlin to you.
Happy Tamlin to you. I'm here with Candy and Carmen. Candy, welcome. I know this is your first time. Welcome back, Carmen. I messaged the group the other day and I go, it's gonna be Tamlin week. We have to do a Tamlin episode. Because if you guys remember, me and Olivia were going to do a Tamlin debunked arc on the podcast, but we never got to because Crescent City 3 came out. So consider this our little Tamlin debunked episode. Because we are ready. We are all of the people that people hate to see on TikTok.
Right,
The
so
perfect people for this episode. So why don't we start with book one? Why don't we say our favorite scenes and favorite quotes from book one, and then we can do a little like debunking of the fandom crap around Tamlin.
Okay.
So Carmen, what's your favorite Tamlin scenes or quotes from book one?
I think, what is it like? I think it's like chapter 27. It's a quote where he literally on the nose says that he loves her, thorns and all. And I can't quit thinking about how it's so poetic and like surprisingly self-aware.
Yes.
It gets brushed over that like Tamlin is acknowledging that love isn't just about like beauty or ease, but it's like the dark part. It's the dangerous part. And so it's the things you don't always show. And so I think it's just like ironic in like hindsight that he couldn't accept her thorns when she changed tragically.
I mean, and it's like sometimes you can't change certain people's thorns to be, you know, what you need as well, unfortunately. And then they just don't mesh and they just end up cutting you.
Plus, I think it's something that Farah needed to hear. Like, she really does a lot of healing throughout Akatar. It all goes away, but it's good progress.
It does. It's just so sad, honestly. Like, we got this nice little story with them. I know there was the curse looming and all of that, but there are a lot of really nice moments in Akatar with them.
Yes.
But yeah, Candy, what about you? Favorite scenes? Or
my favorite is the art scene when she shows him the art and he understands it. She's got all this expressionist painting and he gets it all and he looks at it all and she's dying inside.
It just goes to see how like outrageously wrong she is with interpreting things. Like there could not be any more clear. Like this was him giving her homage for like, oh, you did a really great job. Like I totally get what you're saying. And she's like, he's making fun of me and this is awful. And I don't get it.
And it's just really sad because he still has that art piece that he chose from her.
Oh yeah, he does, doesn't he?
And I'm like,
so sweet.
I wonder if he like put it in that little pocket of nothing, like the little broom closet. He just has it.
In the little closet, his little storage closet.
Yeah.
Actually, he has them all. She gave him all the paintings, so he still has them all.
Yeah, she did leave them there. He did probably,
a bonfire.
I just think it's funny because like really quickly going to the whole Reese's sister thing, I'm like, you're just keeping art from your past lovers. The mural, the art piece.
A whole collection room, okay?
A whole gallery. That's probably what his gallery is, just art from all of his lovers.
Yeah, exactly. Throughout the generations.
Oh my God.
My favorite quote is, don't feel bad for one moment about doing what brings you joy.
Yes, that comes from that chapter too.
Same chapter. Yeah, I love that one. I love it. I love that one so much. And then I think for scenes, I have so many favorite scenes, but I think the one that made me laugh out loud was when she caught him in the snare. And he's hanging upside down and like laughing.
It's funny. He doesn't like get mad at all.
I know. He's like, human. It was just so funny. And then like right after she lets him go, he's like, oh, I made like poems with the words you're trying to learn. And I'm like,
it's so cute.
It's so cute.
Well, there's such a funny literary joke in there. He's like, is this about you killing me and burning my body? And I am probably the only person that laughs so hard at that.
So funny.
That's such a
and then of course like the I think the Will-O-Wisp scene.
That is one of my favorite. Like, everybody talks about Starfall, but Will-O-Wisp with the flowers and the moonlight and the singing and the whole
It was so hard. I love that so much. And I love there's a little line, and I'm forgetting what the exact quote is, but there's a little line about how they will like lead people astray and like have them get lost in the forest and everything. But they will always, but they'll never do that to Tamlin. Like they'll always lead Tamlin back.
I did not see that.
And so I'm like, that's so interesting because I was like, is it just because like I would say, like, is it just because he's their High Lord? But technically, I don't think they're bound to a court, right? Like some of the others.
I don't think
they're
so.
just.
They're not really. They're like kind of
because they're
magical
little.
insects.
Because they're just chaotic like beings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I found it really interesting that he's like, oh, they always led him back home or something. And I was like, ah.
I love this scene, that scene with Tamlin in the early chapters of Akamath when they come back from under the mountain. They're at their manor, right? And like it's when Feyre returns from Spring Court after like dying and being remade, and like Tamlin is legit trying to comfort her, but like he doesn't know how, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
People, it's so underrated because people paint Tamlin as this cold and selfish in the scene, but he's actually like trying to preserve.
He does try
normalcy for Feyre, but he thinks like what she needs, but it's he's operating under like a trauma response.
Yeah.
Honestly.
He can't deal with what he's feeling. So just on top of that, trying to figure out what Feyre needs, his mind just went, oh, what makes her happy? Painting. I'll get her paints. Like that's how simplistic his head was.
Yeah, and he's not even, and the sad part is he's not even understanding that like shielding her in his mind is actually for her invalidating her trauma. And so it's like this misguided love, not like apathy thing,
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just all like heartbreaking as you watch it just like implode on itself.
Knowing she has no understanding of what he went through. Who knows what happened? He was so weird under the mountain. That had I got to know what he went through. But then she died in his arms. Like
that's
it took a couple of months to get over that. Like just a little bit of time.
Also, has anyone realized like didn't Lucian's lady, didn't he die in his she died in his arms? So like now both of them have experienced that.
Yes.
I wrote that little line in my fic. I had Lucian literally say like, oh, I put myself on the line for you and Feyre under the mountain because I know what it's like to lose the love of your life and I didn't want you to go through that. So I was like,
valid connection though, because I definitely feel like that's something you would talk about.
Oh yeah, 100%. But yeah, it's like we don't know, like Tamlin had no idea where she was kept under the mountain. He didn't know she was in like a cell. Like she could have been anywhere, right? She didn't know where he was kept. Technically, he was on the throne, but was it really him the whole time? I don't know if I believe it.
It's so weird. Like it's hard to know, but then why torture Feyre if he's not going to make Tamlin watch? So
I think so. In my head, I'm like, okay, what would break Feyre's faith in Tamlin, but Tamlin not reacting to her getting hurt? So it could have been more of like a psychological tactic for Amarantha against Feyre, and
that's the thing. It's like this isn't even a story about like an evil ex in Feyre's perspective. It's really like about like an emotional like misalignment and like a deeply unmet needs on like Feyre's need for healing and Tamlin's need like he just like all he knows is how to fight. Okay, that's it. And the tragedy is that he never learned like softness for himself, so like, he can't offer it to her. And like this like canonically ties in because like that scene when he tries to like hold her through her nightmares, hence he tries, but like he doesn't know how to help, and it's like painful and real.
And I just hate how everyone's like, oh, he did nothing under the mountain and that's why I started hating him. I'm like, we have literally two different scenes of Rhys and Lucian explaining why.
Like, I mean, how did he literally give her everything, even his powers, and like nobody wants to talk about it? Like at this point, it's like purposely just choosing to ignore
it. Blissful ignorance.
Okay,
it's just like I can't handle that shit. I hate it so much because when Rhys goes to her cell, he's like, oh, I wonder what your High Lord would say if he saw you like this. Not that he can, because her cronies are watching him 24/7. There you go. And then you have Lucian. Have you ever thought that maybe he's staying quiet so Amarantha won't use like whatever tactic will hurt you the most if he reacts? Like
he was the lie that he told. No, go ahead.
Just the lie that he told to protect Feyre, like I've never seen her before, is why Amarantha did the trial thing.
Yeah.
Just to torture him more.
Yeah.
Just that little bit.
Like, I'm watching you.
Yeah. It's like if he reacted, she already basically made it be known that she would kill her on the spot. He couldn't react. Like, I don't know what people expect him to have to do. And I'm like, you realize this was Tamlin's curse. Tamlin's curse.
Oh, don't even get on that whole how many curses thing going on again. Like, I feel like I don't think I can mentally handle that conversation anymore because I'm so exhausted.
Feyre did not save Prythian.
No.
Feyre saved Tamlin, who saved Prythian.
My favorite response.
I was having
called curse breaker. Then I was like, because she did break one, just not the one. Okay, like
I was having this discussion on the Instagram group chat the other night, and there was like one person, I forget who it was, that didn't like wholly agree. But
Right.
it was about the whole did Nesta or Elaine kill Hybern? And I was like, it was fucking Nesta because he was alive until she chopped his head off.
Because look,
So
we
then,
know if she were to pull that knife out, he could have killed from the womb.
exactly.
You have to
So
cut the head off.
something like ipso facto, like
Yeah.
freaking bruh. it's
Yeah,
not-
especially because yeah, it's a made weapon, but Elaine wasn't wielding like the made part of it, you know? But anyways, so we got into this discussion of like you can aid something in happening by proxy, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're the one that did it. And I made the reference of like hockey. Like if you get the assist for a goal, you got
Right.
the assist. You didn't make the goal, right?
Yeah.
Great, yes, great example.
Yeah.
Murder adjacent, okay?
Yeah. So I'm like, Elaine had the assist, Nesta killed him. And then just like with like Feyre and Tamlin, Feyre got the assist, she freed Tamlin in his court, Tamlin freed the rest of Prythian after.
Can we just talk about that for a second? Like when Rhysand shows up in the dining room, and he's
Oh my
in love
God.
with Feyre, she's been, in his dreams or whatever.
Oh my God.
Whatever. Why didn't he just tell, because he's not under the curse, he's allies with Amarantha. So tell her, I read your mind, I know you love him. Tell him you love him, give him his powers back. I'll take you back to the human land. So
because he wanted her. He had to spin it.
Go kill Amarantha. End of book.
What kind of stunned me was the fact that he could Daemati her under the mountain. He was like after the worm trial, he was like, turn around, walk to the. Why can't you just tell her the answer? Oh, well, Amarantha made sure we couldn't. But
no.
She's not a Daemati, so she can't do it in your head. You just can't.
No, she ordered him not to do it, and he's going with what she said. We have to do what she says.
What? I know. The part that makes me the most mad in this book was when he says, I wanted to be on the right side of history. Bitch, when? When? Last minute?
Exactly. The tides turned. He wanted to be on the right side. Because when Tamlin went to the High Lord meeting, he came with receipts and notes and stuff. Where are your notes, Rhysand? Where is your work? Okay, you didn't like torture people. You took their pain away, so you're not a complete monster. But you weren't doing anything to help the cause.
He waited 2 weeks to kill Claire.
Yes.
2 weeks. I can't believe a fucking word he says. I can't. It doesn't make sense. None of the shit he says makes sense.
Well, the funniest part is Rhysand's out here acting like he's playing 4D chess under the mountain. In reality, he's playing like Twister in the dark with the blindfold because he was sabotaging Amarantha behind the scenes. But like, let's not pretend he wasn't also like reveling in the power and the aesthetics of it all. So like, he literally was like a trauma fashion underneath the mountain. Okay, like we're not going to pretend here.
But also, I love how he's like, go ahead.
His sabotage wasn't even like good. He just basically like, I didn't let them kill, the High Lord of the Winter Court. And I took their pain away, and I killed this guy instead of just shattering his brain. Like, that just means you're not a monster. That doesn't mean you're helping the cause.
I know, right? No, I hate how he's like, oh, I only have a drop of my power for sleeping with Amarantha or whatever. But the drop of your power is literally all of your power except misting. Like,
always like what? My favorite response for people is when they say like Tamlin just sat there and did nothing. Is I'm gonna be like, you understand? Like Rhysand did everything except for like ask consent, communicate clearly, or wear like a normal shirt. Like
actually strategize, any sort of plan. Like, how is your main plan?
But the right thing.
Yeah. How is your main plan? Let's get Tamlin angry, as if he wasn't already angry.
Yeah, and I would have killed Rhysand first and then killed Amarantha if it was me.
So
I wish. And then just the fact that he's like, oh, well, my hands won't mar the paint. Then how is that proof that you didn't touch her?
Exactly. And also, the paint is smeared, so she was passed around.
Yeah.
Right?
Yuck.
Yeah. Like, even Lucian says, oh, it wasn't the kind of dancing you did on Calumet. You were, like, on his lap. He was touching her. I can't.
Like, Rhysand really, like, woke up and chose paint her like a war table and call it
torture.
Like, okay, like I'm going to fair by turning her into a human coloring book and force her to dance for the court. Yeah. Like perverted Coachella underworld position. Like, I don't understand.
And I hate when I make that argument and people are like, she wasn't naked. She was pretty much fucking naked. Yes, she was.
It's a see-through. It was one piece of fabric, barely covered anything, and it was
like, oh, my whole ass was out. Like, that's
not
naked.
even like
that's lingerie, is what that is.
Not even mentioning like not even to mention his whole like I made her drink so she wouldn't remember. Like, the old roofie for her own good.
Yeah.
Like, sir, you need her unconscious to carry out your plan. Is that what you're telling me? That's not a plan. That's like me saying, trust me, she'll thank me later. It's like gaslighting, but like make it aesthetic energy. Like,
I I hate it.
What are you talking about?
Oh my God. And
Plus,
then
as soon as she goes to the Court of Nightmares, we see what he was doing when she was on her lap. They give us a demo right there. Like,
how does that not trigger her? That always pisses me off. How the
she
fuck
doesn't
does that
remember.
not trigger her? Well, yeah.
Well, I hate it's like he sees all these things like the panicking, the injuries, and she has like maybe a solid 1 meal since like book 1. And Reese literally looks at her and it's like, hit the dance floor, darling. Amaranth wants a show. And then suddenly has the audacity to act smug while she shakes it in the corner afterwards. Like, sir, you are emotional support skills are like 0.
Yeah. She's like, oh, I was puking and then he made me continue.
It's
what
so
the
gross.
Fuck?
It's so gross.
And then everyone's like, oh, well, she chose to drink the wine.
No, she did
Is
not.
that first of all, no, she didn't. My traitorous hands grabbed the goblet. That was fucking Daymati, and nobody.
That was Daymati for sure.
Yeah, like come on. And then the rest of the time, it's like, what would he do to her if she refused? He would just use his mind powers again.
And like this whole spiel where he wants to like people to believe that he put her on display to protect her. Like how he could have slipped her a message, talked to her in private, but instead he wanted to object.
Mind to mind. The whole time. This
is giving like manipulative theater kid behavior. Okay. Like,
oh my God,
I don't understand.
Plus, why didn't he give her a pillow, a blanket, some decent food, maybe some decent clothes to wear in her cell? Like, he could have done so much for her. He did none of that. Like, the only warmth she had is the cloak that Lucien gave.
Lucien, yeah.
How did everybody else other than her mate have more concern for her than Rhysand? Like,
that's why I hate Akamath. That's why I hate Akamath.
Oh, I hate Akamath.
Well, if she's like, oh, well, Rhys did the most for me. When? Lucien did the most for you.
Yes, Lucien did.
Lucien did. What are you talking about? Rhys did. And then, Tamlin never crawled for me. It's your own memory. What? Yes. You were like, he's crawling for me, bleeding out from the ash dagger.
Gross.
Like, how do people forget the ash dagger scene? They always forget. He didn't even try. He didn't even did it. I was like, he was bleeding out. She stabbed him through the chest. And it actually describes in grave detail going through muscle and bone and all of this crap when she stabs him until it hits the stone heart. And then she yanks it out. He's fucking bleeding out. It's ash. It nullifies power. He couldn't heal. Like,
and she did it so forcefully, she chipped the blade. Like, she stabbed him good.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. Awful. Awful. I hate it. 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 I hate Akamath so much.
Well, I hate that Rhysand takes credit for the High Lords healing her. Because he says, I begged them. They ignored me, but I begged them. I'm like, they did that for Tamlin. He just saved all of their lives.
You not only created the problem, but manifested the solution.
I know. What? I don't think anyone could ever convince me that he didn't actually Daymati Baron to do it first, because he knew he would be the most problematic. It's like, I gave them a choice. Did you? Because there's no way Baron would have stepped forward first. No way.
I think Baron did. I think Baron and Tamlin are actually kind of good neighbors, because Baron never bothers Tamlin.
See, I have this theory that Tamlin is going to be like Lucien's greatest ally against Baron. Mm-hmm. Because like, if you think of it, look, Tamlin has strong influence in Spring, obviously, right? So like Lucien is, as we are understanding, Baron's heir, unless that comes up to be proven otherwise. So once Lucien makes his move, like who better to help him than against Baron than Tamlin, who literally like killed his own father and brother. Like some.
Oh, Eris is getting in on that shit too. Eris is like, about fucking time.
Because like Tamlin is like the only High Lord who has never aligned really with Baron or Hybern, not in truth, right? So he helped Feyre escape the Spring Court, even when it cost him everything. So I think Lucien feels like there's like some like complicated loyalty to him.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know, but I definitely feel like there's something that's going to happen between those two.
I just thought it was really weird that, well, I mean, I guess you have to think that Tamlin would kind of hate Baron for Lucien just because they were really close.
Right, because
But then there's the whole thing at the meeting where, Baron's like, oh, you don't have to have him as a neighbor or something. And he makes like this jab about Tamlin and the Spring Court. And then later on, Eris is like, oh, he wants to completely demolish and take over the Spring Court. Because Tamlin's like in beast mode and he's not doing anything, So I was like, motherfucker. I'm like, somebody needs to take this asshole out like as soon as possible.
Right.
And honestly, I kind of feel like he's going to get a lame ass death, kind of like Arabin in Throne of Glass. I just feel like Koshi's going to kill him. And I'm going to be so mad.
For real though. Kind of like I feel like Tamlin's going to get like a really quiet arc.
I hope not.
So disappointing because like, look, not everybody gets fireworks and wingspan declaration. Get that, but like some characters get like a solitude or reflection, long painful road to redemption, and that's still valuable. But like an Ackleor moment, like where like he saves, who he saves, and like, but he does it so like a quiet, powerful, like
I will die on the hill that Briar's his mate.
where he's almost like wanting it to go unnoticed what he does because he doesn't even value his own deeds at this point.
Yeah, he never does. And it just makes it worse that everyone else is like, oh, well, he didn't do that much or he could have done more. And it's like, okay, but if you're thinking of it, he's literally the only one that did anything to prepare for this war. The only one.
For 49 years, he was very much limited on what he could actually do.
Yeah.
He couldn't talk about it. He couldn't hint towards it. Like, just saying, like, what is he supposed to do with his hands are tied? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm like, everyone's like, Rhys sacrificed himself to save Prithian in a war. I was like, actually, first of all, if you read that scene, he openly says, oh, I'm the only one who can fix the cauldron with Feyre. So he knew that he was literally the only one who could do it because of his unearthly powers.
Right.
Valg, but just saying.
Yeah,
but because when Feyre glows, I feel like that was her Starborn. So I think Feyre's Starborn and Rhys's Valg are the two parts of the cauldron, and that's why they could fix it.
Good theory. I like it.
But interesting part is, where does Feyre get her Starborn? Because I don't think she originally had it. I think it came from Rhysand's little colonel.
Oh, I think it was from Tamlin and Helions.
Oh, maybe that too. Yeah, it could be. She definitely didn't have it though. But which makes it weird because it's like I feel like Nesta does.
Oh yeah,
because Nesta took something from the cauldron that for that, or there's that theory that some of other Archeron sisters don't have the same which I don't feel like I was drawn to that one, but like I definitely feel like there's this weird like pre-cauldron or death for each sisters, right? Like pre-turning Fae, they did not have the requirements, so they all had in some form or fashion a death that like reversed them into what they're required to like save Prythian.
Yeah.
Very
like fate.
Like,
no, but yeah, I think she got the Starborn from Tamlin and Helion's kernels combined.
Right. And the only reason I would say
combined, I like
because Rhysand stars Night Court, it feels
it's weird though, because he never glows, he's always dark, which kind of goes with the whole shadow and light thing.
Like because you know how they say you have powers that are like complementary to your so I'm thinking star power, I'm thinking Night Court, Starfall and like what it's associated with, but he doesnent have the Starborn. He leans very much Night Court instead of Dusk unless
Court.
you're going like Dark Star kind of, which like I made a video where I was jokingly referring to him as like the Dark Star of the Night Court, but
but I do kind of feel like Rhys is definitely like the Night Court half of the line, and I think Mor is the Dusk Court part of the line, but I think that's also why Mor hates Nesta so much, because I think maybe Mor was supposed to originally be the Queen of the Dusk Court until the mother is like, screw you, bitch, this one's better.
Not right when an egg.
When an egg shows up, screw you, bitch.
Fine, I'll leave.
Because Mor is not worthy. She's not worthy of being Queen of Dusk. Just she's not.
I've got so many.
That's for the Nesta episode. But anyway, back to Tamlin.
Point out the really great things that Tamlin has done that he's taken no credit for, like
everything.
What he did for the sisters. He healed the dad. He brought the dad back. So the dad could heal the family. Like in such a patriarchal man-to-man way that
everyone forgets.
Mentions.
And like we never consider that during when Tamon's doing all this, like his curse is designed to emotionally sabotage him, right? So he's helping all these people while like he's supposed to fall in love with this mortal, right? And this curse is specifically cruel because Tamlin is so emotionally stunted. Like how is he supposed to just change his entire personality, which like he failed to do? And we see that, he didn't care, he still tries, and it's just like it's almost heartbreaking.
I mean, I do feel like he feels a lot internally. I think that every death of like his friends and his sentries and his mother, and then the friendship breakup with Rhysand, and just all of this shit down the years, especially like Andrus, because Lucian makes it seem like they were close with Andrus. Like he was feeling all of those deaths, and so I feel
How
like
many deaths do you think there were?
There were dozens.
I think it's higher than that. It's 2 every day for 2 years. Some came back, some didn't.
Yeah. Well, he did stop for, I don't know, I forget how many years it said he stopped because
like
he couldn't do it
48.
anymore.
He did it for the first 2, stopped. Yeah. And then when there was a dozen left, he put them all out there.
Yeah. They had to beg him too, because Lucian was like, he was so depressed from feeling them all die that he physically couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. And then like his friend died. And I'm like, this is awful. And I'm like, I don't blame him, because everyone always blames him for how he bursts into the Archeron Manor too. And I was like, I don't blame him. She didn't just kill him, she skinned him.
And left him out there for the predators.
Like, why are people not talking about this? She skinned him.
Just to like jump into with that whole thing, we always give Rhys a pass for wearing a mask. And if Tamlin had be this person to like bust, this is the law. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe he's wearing a mask. And like, I hate the excuse of the mask, but I'm like, what's good for the goose? Like,
Right?
for the gander here. And we never get that with Tamlin.
We're
It's
gonna
just-
keep it consistent, all right? But like,
But yeah,
I wanna say this real quick, so
I
I have
just-
this theory, and I don't want to make the video until I think like as if it's I'm not maybe loony, but like I have this theory that like Feyre and Tamlin were
Mhm.
perfect for each other, like in the moment before Under the Mountain, right?
Yeah.
But like soulmates can be temporary, okay? So
Mhm.
like I feel like his purpose was to get her out of the Mortarlands,
Yeah.
start her journey, and then like let her go. And
Yeah.
like canonically, he was like a moment, but like Rhysand was a lifetime. God, I hate that quote so
Mhm.
much. But like even Feyre acknowledges that like Tamlin was who she needed to survive first, right?
Yeah.
And like, but I feel like he's so used, and like even in like that weird freaking what is that, the Great Right thing? Like,
Yeah.
again, I feel like his entire experience in Fey Kingdoms is just Tamlin is the go-to guy for get the best use out of whatever.
He's the scapegoat for everything. It's
it
so
feels
obnoxious.
I
so.
want to know if other High Lords have to do a great right. We've never seen one
In
do
their
it. Is it
courts,
all
yeah.
Calamite, or do they have their own great right? We've never
They-
seen them
they
do
have
it.
their
All it
own-
is just giving back, right? You just have to
Yeah.
deposit magic back into the
Yeah.
source. So like, do like everyone have their own weird version?
Yeah, I
And
feel like they
why
all
is
have
this
their.
one sexual?
I-
Like,
I actually had an argument about this, but like, no, they all have to do it on Calanmai in spring. I go, how would that make sense if it's about giving magic to their own lands? That doesn't make any sort of fucking sense. So they all have to have their own great right on their own land. And she was like adamant that that didn't happen. And I was like, it
So
does.
if Calamite is the great right for Spring Court, so
Yeah.
what is Starfall the great right for Night Court?
I was just
mean-
gonna ask that. Like, it's weird. We've been in the Night Court for a few books now. We don't see their great right.
Well, I
have
do
a bad
feel like
feeling we're gonna get like a Wicker Man situation and be
I
like,
feel
by the way, we gotta light this guy on fire now. Like,
I feel like
you
it's
know.
just like whatever big holiday is for whatever,
Yeah.
that's their
Yeah.
giving back kind of thing.
the
But
spring
how
does
do
it
you
on the
do
spring
that,
equinox. I feel like autumn would do it on like the autumn equinox and then,
Right.
the other things.
But
But
spring is about fertility. I think
Yeah.
it's very much like a
Yeah.
fertility god. So it's all
Mhm.
that's why that sex is involved and stuff.
Yeah.
Just to,
though? You can maybe argue that if like the great right is kind of like the great hunt, right? Where like souls
Mhm.
are passing through, he could possibly be giving in his way of like the cycle of life by like guiding,
Yeah.
almost like a Davy Jones kind of thing or something.
well,
but
that's
like,
the other thing.
but
How
he's
does
neglected that, right? Like, what has
Yeah.
he done?
well, how
Especially
does that
like
even
the-
connect to the wild hunt? Because we have him killing the stag and
It's
all of this
more like
shit.
aesthetically for me,
Yeah.
because the whole like concept of Starfall, like in its origins, at least in Prithian, it's very much not the same, but like descriptive wise, like with the colors running across the sky, like it reads the same, but that's about where it stops for me at least.
Yeah. I mean, I do feel like the High Lords that are like married or mated, Rhys, Baron,
Yeah.
Tamlin at that moment, I guess, if he was with Feyre, I do feel like Tamlin did with Lucian, you can kind of
Proxy
have
it.
someone else to do it.
Yeah,
See, I wonder how you can do that because High Lords have all the magic and he's got to channel
Right.
the good and evil magic
that's a
to
good
put
I
it back
think-
into the land.
I
So
think
how is Lucian
on
able
the
to do that?
day, the High Lord can probably imbue whoever they chose with some of their own
maybe,
magic.
okay.
So that's kind of where I was thinking that could happen. Because like if
I
they
don't know,
have
'cause
the
it seems-
seeds that they can give people to bring them back to life, I feel like they can do that temporarily too.
Because it seemed like he really didn't want to do it.
Mhm.
But yet he had to do it because it was his responsibility. But then in the next book he didn't do it. And I was like,
Yeah,
that's
he was too
weird.
depressed.
I need more. I need a dictionary on this.
I just don't like how like she'll say something and then it's so inconsistent and I'm like, can you just like this is the biggest thing to me, like is the whole Calanmai thing. Like, can we see the other courts doing this or
Yeah, we know
how
the
they
rules.
can imbue other people to be able to do it?
I feel like some of them might be really dark ceremonies. Like, and this is just, I think, like a headcanon that I'm working on literally as we have this
Aaron's
conversation.
involved.
Like, what if Autumn Court's like great right is something like a fox hunt? Because it's autumn,
Well,
and then like
wasn't
Lucian's the
Gwen-
fox who like ran away from home.
Yeah.
Like that would be really depressing, and that would
Mm.
also be like sacrificial magic, right? Like, I don't think that spring happens to be fertility, so it might be
Yeah.
lighter, but like I don't know if all the other courts would
I
necessarily
mean-
have like
Well, the
peaceful
Court of
rights.
Nightmares has got to be
Like,
rough. 'Cause maybe
Right,
I
like,
don't see it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
they
I mean,
probably do Calanmai for the Night Court. Let's be real. the fucking Court of Nightmares. I kind of think that autumn, because while autumn can also be like death, it can also be harvest. So that kind of is kind of on the same line as spring. I do think that autumn has their great right at the temple. And this kind of goes with the whole Gwen theory that I have that she's Eris's kid. But when Gwen's describing like her mother and her sister and all of that, and even herself, she's like, oh, I never got to lay with a male yet because, the rite didn't happen yet or something. So I was like, oh. So I'm like, so everyone like all the kids or the females that grow up in the temple are basically virgins until the rite, and then it's whoever's chosen.
There's a lot of weird
Perhaps.
sex magic
I wanna
that's not completely explored. And like I don't say that necessarily even in like a funny way.
Yeah.
Like, we have cattle. That's a sex ritual, right?
Yeah,
And
the
then,
rite,
like,
yeah.
this thing with the priestesses, and I don't know.
Mhm.
I think that there's a lot more insidiousness to
Mm.
these rites, and like especially when we think about like sex magic, which is very
Yeah.
powerful magic, like
Yeah.
lore wise and all
Yeah.
that. So
Did Vivian get pregnant during the winter solstice, right?
I want to like talking about like the like insidiousness of it. Think about this. What like a wild card theory here, but like what if these spirits aren't peaceful during Starfall, right? What if like Starfall is actually like a leak from the prison or like some celestial realm that used to be filled? So like we know souls are ancient beings or
Yeah.
gods.
Yeah.
Maybe they're escaping or returning from like a place. So like remember Prithian is super old and like old things often get buried, all right? So like Starfall
yeah.
might be the night they fly free, right?
Or,
So
like, what if
Probably
they're
another
falling
fucking thing Amber
night
knows
day?
that isn't telling anyone.
Well,
Like-
like, but what does that say? That it's like this primordial magic returning for this brief time, and it's happening in the night court, where like this magic is supposed to come from. So Rhysand's power is now tied to stars. Azrael has shadows. Feyre's light come from the darkness. Like this all seems like really, really weird. Like,
and we don't know why they're dwindling either, because doesn't he say they're like dwindling every year or something?
Okay, because
like,
if it's souls, we know Prithian is giving it plenty of that. Okay, how many people are dropping at every ward? Just like no, Rhysand's sending them enough for like a good few centuries to supply. Okay?
Yeah.
It's something doesn't add
and like
up.
they're smacking into people too. It's not like they're just like, oh, passing by. They're like,
right. So you have to think, is it a coincidence that it's happening in Night Court, or did Night Court just so happen to end up where this event happened? So it's like a cause or effect,
Yeah, it's very weird that we have the Starfall souls in the Night Court and the Will-o'-the-Wisps in Spring.
Right.
But then we also have, the Court of Nightmares in the Night Court, but then we had Spring connected to Highburn. So they're kind of mirroring each other, where there's like partial good, partial bad.
It Spring's more connected due to like unfortunate proximity.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's like hey, you want to be buds? Like, it's more
well,
like
Tamlin's father was. I mean, Tamlin's father was best.
Yeah,
friend
okay,
with
that's-
Highburn. and grandfather, I think he says too, father and grandfather or something.
honestly, I just don't know how any Fae becomes good in this realm, because it honestly seems like
They're all
every
pretty
Fae
terrible.
from history are just diabolical warlords. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's also like time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, they're immortal. So I
Yeah.
think that at a certain point, like, you would just wind up doing something bad. Like, you're not gonna be 1,000. You're not gonna be
The fucking
batting
Lord.
1,000. You know what I mean? Like, I think that somewhere along the way, you're gonna wind up doing horrible things. And I think that also just time, like, you know how time like makes people bitter. I think that like for so long you're dealing with the same
Yeah.
people. Like, I don't know. I feel like I fear I would be a bitter Fae.
I mean, I feel like that's
after a
why
while.
Baron is such a piece of shit. Like, he's 1,100 years old. And he's like,
Yeah.
fuck, I had a 7th child. I didn't want you. Go away. Like,
Trying to
after,
pay for college.
after
Yeah,
like 2
like, you know.
centuries, he's like, fuck, another one? But it's, yeah. Oh, Antoinette, you weren't here. Your favorite Tamlin scenes and quotes.
My favorite Tamlin scenes. Oh, I love Tamlin.
All of
I mean,
them.
I really like the
correct
High
answer is
Lord.
all of them.
I really like the High Lords meeting.
I love the High Lords
Yeah,
meeting.
I love that
High
whole
Lords
situation. I like that, like, and I hate saying like I like the slut shaming scene because that makes me sound
I
horrible.
know.
But
Oh my god, I was
but
talking to someone the
I
other day.
just-
They go,
I-
that line is the best. I go,
I do love that, and
I love it.
I think I also like the Be Happy Feyre.
uh,
I like
I
that.
don't. I wanted him to like
I wanted him to like
say no
yeah.
and laugh
Oh,
at it.
I wanted him to say no too, but I think that speaks to his generosity and
I
his
know.
goodness.
I know.
Does he good?
Like, that's my thing. I'm like, insofar as like he's a good, I think that Tamlin's actually morally good. I
Good,
think
he
that
is.
he makes
Here's the
mistakes
thing.
sometimes, but like I don't think that he's an insidious person. I don't
And
think so.
every time I say that, people will be like, he killed 2 of his sentries because Feyre left. And I was like, how many people has Rhys killed?
Look,
Like,
Rhys
Rhys
he lied about it.
manipulates. Cassian and Azure are walking war crimes, but Tamlin is the only one that we drag because the mistakes were visible, right? So he didn't
Yeah.
hide them or charm, or you.
But also, it's like you don't have jails in each court.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
like they're Fae. They're not human. So they're not gonna put you in jail. They're gonna kill you for your crime.
Yeah, it's very lawless society.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like that's what they do. Like, look what Rhys did. He went up to Illyria. Everyone who bowed to Amarantha, he slaughtered.
Mhm.
Like, as
Once
if
again,
he
the double
didn't.
standards.
Hypocrite.
They never cease to amaze me, the double standards. I'm
I
like,
also love that like the only 2 characters that we see give without any expectation is Tamlin and the Surreal. Like, what is up with that? Like they like his like I feel like maybe the Surreal doesn't have a choice on that one. Maybe like, magical curses
Yeah.
only answer
Oh,
questions.
and Lucian, technically, kind of. Yeah, Lucian.
But it's just, why is it that group of people, but not these like court of dreamers that we're supposed
I
to
know.
be great? Like, you think y'all would be the generous ones who are just helping with no perceived like what are you going to give me in return? You know.
And I think you guys saw my reel on that. I did a whole reel where I was like, dreams aren't actions; they're just hopes, and hopes are nothing unless you put them into action. So
dreams are also subjective.
They're just the court of laziness. Like
someone's dream could be another person's nightmare.
Yeah. I know. I'm sure every villain thought their dream sounded great, and every person who had to endure it was like, "This is living hell." So,
right.
Yeah, it's just fucking crazy. But
I question the finances of the Night Court because money seems to be used for power. There's a lot of slums. The Illyrians live in terrible conditions. The court of nightmares.
Only Valaris matters.
He was holding the purse strings when it came to Nesta. Like he had 3 freaking gold shillings left or something. Like he was literally acting like it was so imperative that they watch every penny. And it felt
500 coins. She only spent 500 coins. Just
like, come on,
reminding you people.
I'm pretty sure one bottle of wine in the House of Wind costs like 3 times that. Okay.
Yeah. And it wasn't even all just for herself either. She was buying it for the table. She was buying rounds for her table. And they're like, she's such a drunk. I was like, no, she's not.
Whenever I think about Nesta's like decisions and like the things that they get mad at her for, I'm like, you guys would have really hated me when I was in college. You guys would have been like, oh my God, who is this person? I was like unruly compared to Nesta.
I was telling them that next week is Nesta week, so we got to do an episode on Nesta next week.
Oh, that's going to be unhinged. I'm just letting you know.
It's going to be so unhinged.
We just want everybody to hate us, basically.
I know. I wanted to real quick do the scene in Akawar when he outs himself to Highburn.
Yes.
That is actually one of my favorite scenes of the whole series. A little bit because I'm obsessed with Briar and I just read that scene all the time just to get a little taste of her because that's literally all she's in. But I don't know. I just love it. I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I do feel like the wind power thing was a mate bond thing because we have never seen any character use 2 powers at the same time, 2 or 3 powers at the same time, actually, because he was in beast form actively. He was, what else? He was in beast form. He was bolstering himself to jump through the portal. And then he also sends the wind to them. So I was like, that's like 3 powers at the same time.
Yeah.
And I feel like only something as strong, like as a mate bond thing would allow that to happen. And it reminds me of Lucian's spell cleaving to get to Elaine in the Highburn scene, because Highburn, their magic is supposed to be so strong, like Azrael couldn't breach it, nobody could breach it, but Lucian's mate instinct is what allowed him to come into his, I don't know, spell cleaving power, cleave it, and then go to her. So I'm like, I do kind of feel like because they were falling, because Azrael's wings were shredded, I do feel like that was kind of a mate instinct for Tamlin in a way. And everyone's like, oh, it's just because he loves Feyre still. But I was like, no, because they were both trying to fly, and he sent it to all of them. Like, he didn't have to save Azrael, Elaine, and Briar. He could have just saved Feyre, but he didn't. So I was like, And also, like,
he's so powerful. I think his is the only beast that can talk too.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a good point. It is, because I don't think I remember any of them.
Yeah. No. Even Feyre says about Rhys is like, oh, he was still too far gone in that beast to do anything but growl.
Right.
So I was like,
and most of them can only get their beast when they're at war. He can just, and I don't know whether that's just because he's a shifter or
he's just a raw shifter, which again, Tog magic, but that can be a source of his strength too. But like, why name her Briar specifically? Like, you could have named her anything, and you're gonna name her Wild Bush of Thorny Roses? Come on.
You and your Briar theory. I'm here for it.
I'm sorry. I'm like so obsessed.
I want Rhys' sister to be dead. Just so I have an interesting Tamlin theory. Getting back on Tamlin week.
Yeah, I'm gonna like cut that and put it in the next episode.
Here's the transition. So I'm on Under the Mountain, and Tamlin is acting very strangely, and he is sitting on a black rock throne. And Court of Nightmares has black rock thrones. What if these are weird stones?
Yeah.
Like that tower and
yeah, they are.
Like a big, like, what if it's some kind of control? Oh my God, hold on, wait.
There's also the archway.
Are there any other locations where we see that kind of material?
It's the Court of Nightmares, Amarantha's throne, the archway on Ramiel, and the monolith on Ramiel.
Okay, so
and then look at
like a map. I wonder what surface area that this covers topography wise. Like how much area that this, like, if you were to connect them, could there possibly be like something going on with like a siphoning issue, kind of like in Throne of Glass?
The ley lines,
and they're connected by these, these large black stones, right? So like, what if maybe if like this like conversion area is somewhere around the Night Court or something, or somewhere where
so the walls
siphoning something,
the walls under the chamber. The walls under the chamber were all that black onyx stone too.
It's just you can't after reading Throne of Glass, I don't see any black stone and immediately think that is put there.
It's word stone, yeah.
And because its location is always integral to some scheme. So like, why is that there? And why is she choosing to tell us it's there for no reason? I mean,
I was literally reading Tog and I had to like stop and do a reel on this because I was like, and my reaction was just crazy because I was like, oh my God, there's Wordstone in Prithian. I started reading it. I go, it's Wordstone.
I'm just ready for ACOTAR to like start learning what word marks are, because I feel like if there's anybody who's going to learn how to like manipulate it like Aelin was doing, and like it's got to be like Nesta,
yeah.
Valkyries. Like,
or it could be Elaine. It could be part of Elaine's
story. Oh man, can you imagine her just coming out with like a plethora of knowledge of that? Just
that would be so funny.
I mean, just like shut up.
Well, who has Elaine been talking to? Because remember, like she's sneaking out to talk to people, which is really weird.
I think Elaine is hiding from the inner circle. I think she's just playing into her "I'm dumb and like flowers" thing.
Yeah.
And hiding because she knows she's in danger.
I've been working with this theory and I don't have anywhere near enough yet, but it's more like vibes based. But like, I think she has connections in the multiverse. Like, I feel like she's not seeing things just relevant to Prithian.
Like the cereal.
Well, not even that. I'm convinced, like the whole her telling Cassian he's going to die in the shredded thing, saying, I'm convinced still to this day that she saw Hunt. Because look, when she references it, Hunt is burned, right? All you're seeing is the structure of the wings, which is basically the bony protrusions, right? So you wouldn't see feathers, you wouldn't see sinew, like leathery stuff, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible, but I almost wonder if she's seeing so much and she's going in so many like connections, like interdimensionally, is she susceptible while she's under this like trance? What else could be like piggybacking off of her? Like the astrologer?
Oh,
he seems.
Well, Nesta even says like when they're, I forget which scene it is. She comes back after seeing Lanthus, I think it is.
Right.
And they're talking about the Wild Hunt and all this stuff. And they bring up Elaine and she's like, well, no, Elaine can't scry because of this, that, and the next thing.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we could get Elaine to try. And she's like, oh, well, eyes can be blinded. And I go, interesting. And then Azriel goes, not the ones from my spies.
Okay. Like immune, right? So, but here's what's crazy. So if you think about the astronomer in Crescent City, right? So when he's put those wolves under like this trance, right? He's in a sense controlling what they're looking for, right? Okay. So like, what if he taps into that source while Elaine is peeking and he's controlling her, using her as like, as Google, basically.
I was so convinced that the astronomer was Koshi.
Oh.
I mean, it's something. Koshi, I don't think he is stuck.
They both show up as like old men. Right. They're both illusionists.
Here's the thing, that lake, I believe if he is actually stuck there, I feel like it's a portal. I feel like, okay, on this planet, I'm stuck here.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe somehow, like topography wise, if we were to look at it on a map, maybe every planet, if he were to like portal to somewhere else, it's still like geography wise, it's still the same spot, but like obviously houses something different in each world. So maybe like they all like kind of stack over. I don't know.
The only thing that threw me off was when he got killed. Like he got killed off, but then like, did he really die or was that like his astral form that died and then he just got sent back to Prithian? Like
I have so much PTSD from death in this massverse. Like I don't trust anybody. And you can usually the ad is of like if you see the body, it's real. I don't even trust that anymore. They're reanimating left and right. That like I'm like, just give it 30 seconds or at least 50 pages. And if they don't come back by then, we're probably good.
And also, she did not have to give the Prime a death that awful.
Oh, okay, that was kind of
that was so bad. I was like, the poor dude. Like
I loved him. Like that old man. Like
I mean, him and Danica, like the worst deaths.
Right.
That's awful. But the Black Stone. But the Black Stone, real quick, that's what the Asteri put around the Northern Rift too, to prevent people from going into hell or getting.
And then like I'm convinced Black Stone is shaved down, and that's where we get the black salt from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah,
so it's very much a conduit. So again, say why is she telling us about this conduit if it's not important? Because you don't have any reason to mention something that could be integral to, I don't know, some kind of like dampening power or controlling power. For no reason. It's just like
this is why I fucking hate that my TikTok was banned, because I had all my videos on there and I have like this whole like however many
parts. Videos too?
Yeah, I lost all of them. Yeah.
Oh my god.
They're all on TikTok, but then I'd have to like re-upload all of them.
I know I have like 17 drafts.
Yeah. But I have like a part, I don't know, there's like 6, 7, maybe 8 parts of my like describing how Tamlin is starborn, and there's one specifically where I hone in on the Black Stone in terms of Amarantha and in terms of the Asteri, because I'm convinced that she was an Asteri and Hybern. And because she says, so just like the Asteri, they said that the Black Stone wall across the rift is 7 by 7. And so Amarantha what did she say? 7x7 for the 49 years.
49 years. Oh.
Well, and I'm like, they talk the same. It's so weird. And she has the black eyes.
They talk the same too. And every time I point that out, the fandom goes crazy and tells me that I'm a Abuse Defender. I'm like, I know. They're not real.
I know.
Rhysand's real name is SJM. Like,
right. But also with Amarantha, she has the black eyes. She used the parasite on their wine, which is what took their magic.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
It's the parasite.
Because she can't use the magic. She can just house the magic.
Mm. No. She was using the magic because Rhys would say she used our powers to torment people, to torture people.
Oh, yeah.
Well, she was using their
powers. And says, because there's another. Yeah.
But then when she's lashing out at Tamlin at the end, when he's trying to kill her, she's flaring with white light until he actually, until the curse is actually broken. And then it's black magic that explodes from her.
Okay.
And Tamlin blasts her against the wall the exact same way as Bryce blasts back Rigelus.
Yes.
Yes. This is the issue with this universe is that so many of these villains have so much crossover that's why I'm like, I think they're all the same. I think they're either just leaving the same place at a different time, different stages of development, or just difference in races, kind of the villain of high fae and lesser fae. But there's just
there's definitely levels of Asteri and Valg.
Yes, there's just too much at this point for me to be like, it means nothing.
Because even Rigelus says, he's like, oh, some of our siblings were left behind on other planets.
Well, because look, the Asteri say that there was a war waged, right? Or the Valg say they waged war to end all wars. Okay, so that implies that where they're at, they've been fighting continuous war, right? This one was a final hurrah that was going to end it all.
Yeah.
We know the Asteri were fleeing from something. They just won't say what.
Yep.
So, I believe that the Asteri are kind of like high fae, right? The higher evolved version of the Valg. And the Valg are basically the Daglin, right? Or the Daglin or the Asteri, whichever you want to do. So
I think that the Tog gods created them to serve them, and then they turned on them, and then they wanted people to serve.
There's definitely this essence of the Valg kind of had this uprising of we're done with the status quo. And the Asteri were like, oh, they've got autonomy now. And they went, okay. But the thing is I think they ran with the knowledge of how to run. And so when we get
Amarin
come into the picture and she's like, let me do some research, and she learns it and she dips before they can find out too. And so it's the knowledge is there, but somehow they don't possess the ability to use it. Kind of like certain high fae only have the ability to read certain languages, the lesser fae don't. So that's why I'm thinking it's a progressive of the species,
Yeah, I did a little chart of what I thought each level was.
Right. It definitely it's feeling that at the minimum they're coming from the same world.
Yeah. I like I said, I think the Tog gods were the first, and I think they created these creatures to serve them, and then they ended up turning on them. So I do think that they made them kind of with their essence, which is where the Starborn magic also comes from, because there's light and the dark.
The Valg love to freaking experiment. How many creatures did they create? Not just witches alone, right? So there's definitely heavy
I think when Brannon gifted Aelin that fire, I think that fire was the raw Starborn magic. I think the fire is the rawest form of the Starborn magic, but this is also why I think Helion and Lucian are probably the strongest Starborn, and Prithian, we just don't know that yet. Whereas the light is kind of the next step of Starborn magic.
I might have a little bit difference. I think Ness has the original Starborn. I think, because listen, I think Deanna is the origination of the Starborn magic. I don't care what they think about Thea. I don't give a hoot. Okay, she's listen, when they talk in the scene of Aelin getting taken over by Deanna, right? Yes. How do they describe it? It's just white, moon fire.
Yeah, the moon fire. Yeah.
So that's exactly
silver flames. The silver flames. Yeah.
And then you think about how horrified Rhysand is. So what if he is some kind of Valg come back after Akamath? So he would be terrified of something that can unmake them, right? Yeah. And so I think every bit of fire magic, no matter it's visual, all has to do with cauldron-based creation magic. And that's why Irene can unmake things. That's why Nesta unmade the queen.
Irene, Aelin, Nesta, Lydia, Cormac.
And that's why they're constantly in battle using their fire or their unmake magic, whatever you want to call it, Irene's.
Calls to life. Yeah.
Cormac, so they're unmaking constantly the Valg, right? So, or the Asteri, it's just, I'm convinced.
I'm just saying, there's orange flames on Nesta's dresser.
Okay.
Cormac has orange flames.
I think that might be that the dresser has so much contention for me, because this is one of the worst attempts at retconning I've ever seen. That whole first book is a play-by-play on why you don't publish before you figure out what you're going to do. Okay, because she let so much of her publishers which I'm glad because we wouldn't have got what we got if she didn't. But I would have been okay with her pulling like a George Lucas and just being like, okay, you may have had this first edition release, but pretend that doesn't exist. We're re-releasing with the new plot. I would have expected that more at this point.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I did like how in Crescent City in particular, she went back and added a lot of things into Crescent City that were from book one, which I liked, which was kind of her way of, you know, bringing book one into it. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
You know, the Amarantha thing. We have Tamlin's cave being a thin place, which was really cool to me. We have the Midgard worm, which
I am so
that could have been left out.
Nostalgia throwback. Like, give me a new critter. I've seen that one.
We have
I literally ruined for me after someone made the connection to SpongeBob and the Alaskan bullworm. Like a child, I am millennial, but like I can't read big worm and not think that, and it's so ridiculous that I know it. But once you see a picture, it's ingrained into you.
But yeah, when I reread ACOTAR after the first time I read Crescent City 3, when I was reading it, it's that scene when the Adder first shows up and he's like taunting Tamlin and Lucian and Feyre's hidden, right? And Lucian says like, stop sending your ilk through the cave. It is a sacred place. And I go,
well, how many caves is this like series going to have? Like the caves in Crescent City, you got this cave now.
So I'm like, Amarantha, as an Asteri, would know about the ley lines. So if she was sending the monsters through the cave, that's how they were getting into Spring.
That makes a good sense.
Yeah. And then we have that whole scene, which I've mentioned before, but I love the mirror of Selene crumbling the prison and then Tamlin crumbling under the mountain the same way. It's a wave of their hand. And I was like, and again, I will say this until I'm proven wrong, but Spring is the bastard Starborn line, and that's what started the whole Night Court versus Spring Court bullshit. And I will never let that go. Come on, Starlight Pool. Come on. One of them is the bastard line, and we know that it's Spring now because technically Rhys is a direct descendant of Selene. So I think somewhere down the line, one of Selene's descendants mated with someone from Spring, and then that particular person stayed in Spring. Eventually, you know.
All right. Okay, I'll follow along.
Yeah, because I'm like, what other possible reason would like Tamlin have Starborn magic? Why else would there be a Starlight Pool? Like, it's all connecting back.
What I think there is one true god out of all three of these series, and I think they are pulling strings like a puppet master. And
the mother.
Yeah, I think that they are responsible for when, where, and exactly why certain fae cross into other worlds. I don't think any decision about these migration patterns that like relate to where certain Starborn creatures pop up. None of this is like coincidental to me. I feel like this is very orchestrated, and they're like, okay, so you're going to need to be here in about 1,000 years, so y'all go ahead and start populating over here, right? It feels very like purposeful.
Yeah,
because everything in this freaking series is.
I just need to know when a Tog person popped over to Prithian to mate with whoever started Tamlin's line. Because, like, why is he the only fucking person in Prithian with Tog magic? Why? The only one with elongated canines. The only one with the raw shifter.
All of the High Lords have shifting ability because they all turn into a beast.
Yeah, but Tamlin's base power is raw shifting.
So here's what could have happened is, they could have came over, started, and it's like, more raw and purest form is Tamlin's line, but I think every other High Lord has a bit of that like transformative shifting power, because how are you turning into anything if you don't have a little bit of something, right? It's giving like the A-list.
I mean, I think that's connected more to their lands, whereas Tamlin's is his actual power.
Well, but if you look at the reference for Aelin in Throne of Glass, she says every fae has their fae form and an
animal form. Yeah.
So it could just simply be that's just their animal form is their beast form shaped to their court. It could simply be that. It very well.
I just find it weird that his is more like Lysandra, because she can turn into anything. Tamlin can turn into anything. And like he has no trouble doing it, whereas like both Helion and Tamlin had kind of a lot of trouble turning into bears during the war. They can't speak in their animal form like Lysandra and Tamlin can.
And also, I wonder, can Feyre, is she ever going to switch into her beast form? I think something's going to happen to Nyx, and we're going to see Feyre full out. I think we're going to see something where all three sisters are going to be like maxed out powers. And it's not like, what is
do you think Feyre has a beast form? Because she's not a real high.
When she looks in that mirror,
the Ouroboros. Yeah, like her inner
Yeah.
self is like a beast, but
And so I always took it that like that was like a rendition of what she would look like, because it's very interesting that it looks similar to Tamlin's beast form.
I mean, I feel like if she does shift into a beast form, that will just prove that she's like a true High Lady, and I don't see her as a true High Lady.
I know, but you know they're going to confirm it.
So let's not have Farrah shift, because that'll just confirm to all the people.
I don't like it, but she's already shifting Illyrian with the wings and things like that. So we know that
that's from Tamlin's power, though.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's the thing. So like, I mean, like if we're talking like true like equality here, if High Ladies at one point existed, I'm assuming they probably had the same abilities as the High Lord. So it wouldn't be like far-fetched. Would I like it? No, but I don't know. I feel like it could happen.
Oh, something's definitely going to happen where Reese gets super unhinged and like Nick's there.
Reese is definitely going full.
I've been saying this, but I need her to be like.
I got the post ready for when that happens.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's a funny, like, if we consider if that's a fact and Farrah can do this, then does that mean that every High Fae can have a beast form? And if that's so, like, what the hell would Nesta's and Elaine's look like?
See, Nesta's would be a wolf. They're cauldron made, so I think they could have one, but I don't think Farrah would have one. But I do have a question. This is like I'll be in the nursing home ranting about this. Rhysand's wings make no sense because they're not his beast form wings. His beast form wings are either scaly or feathery. His Illyrian wings are leathery. So he is shifting those wings.
He manifested them with his whatever manifestation magic when he was little. And I personally think it was because he knew his mother didn't really like his father, and he was really close with his mother, and his mother was Illyrian. So I think as a little kid, he's like, I want to be more like my mom. The wings happened.
So, and we're in the assumption that this transformative power is like a night court power and not a Valve power, because
that would be like a necromancy.
Because Maeve very much has transformative powers. We see her altering her physical.
It's a Valve power.
So,
I had somebody defend Rhysand by saying, no, he conjures them. I'm like, you don't want him conjuring?
Because like, we can explain away Farrah shifting her ability because it's Tamlin's power. But Rhysand shouldn't have that. Even being part Illyrian, he should have still been born either with or without wings, and that should have been it.
Yeah. But then he manifested them as a child.
So like
it's weird. It's
really weird that Cassian says, oh, he manifested them as a child with whatever unearthly magic he possesses.
Yes.
And it's this like vague about his magic that's like, how are we not supposed to like inherently connect that this is to be suspicious? How, like, you were using suspicious like language to describe this, and I'm just supposed to think that it's normal that he's like this different. There's a difference of being different because of your courts versus being so different on power levels that you were an anomaly, because then like the whole thing is about equal, right? And there's supposed to be a balance, but that's not a balance. That's the disproportionate power level. So,
but I think Tamlin is the balance because he can do basically everything. Like they could both do,
and they're on two sides,
but at different levels. Like Tamlin can read too. We've seen him do it.
And I know that you've had a lot of videos talking about how powerful he is when he's under two different spells. So what if Rhysand and Tamlin are actually that powerful, and we're just not seeing a lot of mentioning of it within the other courts? So they could all secretly just not want to give out how like capable.
I mean, Rhys does say like, oh, I don't know who would truly win if we had like a brawl. Like,
or the mountains would shatter. I think he says if we actually.
And like technically,
honest, this whole like brag of him being most powerful Lord just seems like an ego thing for his persona.
I mean, to be fair, I do think the misting and the Daemati give him. I think that's what makes him the most powerful.
But that's
really if you can miss people.
Not shown anything else in these other courts, like Autumn Court's got some fire. It's like one thing.
Yeah, and then Tamlin has that bomb that goes off. Right, gets to control it. So
earth bending.
So like there is insinuation that if Rhysand and Tamlin have these multiple different abilities, so do these other courts, and I firmly believe she's saving them for this big battle that comes.
Yes, with Kochi
building new things left and right. Because
I think they're up, like they're the most powerful. They're always he's dark, he's light, he's
and they're on the opposite ends of Prithian. That makes sense.
I mean, that's not a foil.
All the other ones are sort of in the middle, going, "Please don't fight, please don't fight,
please."
That's all.
Especially Thiessen. I love Thiessen. Oh, this doesn't bode well. Yeah, no shit, Thiessen.
He's like a comedic relief at this point, honestly.
I know. He's like, about Thiessen. Always like, and the other one.
Right?
I just love how he's like the peacemaker, and he's just like, please don't. Why is this in my court?
I feel bad for like, who is it, Tarquin? Like all the shit that like happens to him, and like he feels like such a genuine character, but I don't know. I'm getting vibes. Does anyone else have like suspicious vibes like his background?
He's like not related to any. They wiped out most of the summer court. Amarantha killed like all the all the summer court high fae.
So
I feel like if there were to be a situation where they all had to like team up again, I just don't know how much reliability can be put on him at this moment, because
I just feel like it's very weird.
Baron gets it. I think he's going to be gone. I don't think anybody's actually going to kill Baron. I think he's just going to get killed.
Possibly, by Koshi, yeah. In terms of Tarquin, I think the suspiciousness and the bitterness really just comes through Varian. I think Varian's just bitter that he wasn't chosen to be High Lord because he's much older and he's been captain of the guard for centuries.
Prisoners, so that's kind of not good. But they're all high fae and they're all terrible, so it's hard to like.
But it's like, Varian's his cousin, Cressada's his cousin. They are centuries older than him, and Varian didn't get chosen to be High Lord. I wonder why that is. And then the first act that he does is literally betray Tarquin by telling the Night Court that they were being attacked with blood rubies. And it's like, Varian.
Because I just like, you can't tell me that it overlooks who is rightly supposed to be the heir because of like, being the eldest, right? But overlooks because of some kind of sentient knowledge about their intentions, right? Same thing with like what can wield a trove item that's cauldron made. It's like, what are your intentions?
And this directly goes to why he's so in love with Amarin, because they're both fucking suspicious.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have loved to see more of Cressada and what she thought of that little rivalry, because she seemed very like dedicated to Tarquin. Like, even though he's her younger like her baby cousin and he's the High Lord, she did seem very dedicated to him. But Varian's her brother, so. And I don't
like Tarquin up until the war crimes, but he never should have. That Ruby should have stayed. Like,
I know.
He didn't give the book back. He still has the book. Like, at least keep it on until you get your book back.
Right.
The purest. I'm like everybody's big sister. I'm going to fight everybody.
Oh, we revoke them. Well, Amarin's keeping them anyway because she likes them. Okay. Yeah. What?
Okay.
Like it just bothers me. It just bothers me. Like I mean, it could be. I feel like the people that people are least looking at in terms of like suspiciousness are Varian and Jurian. It's weird.
Jurian is a bad dude. What Jurian did to Amarantha's sister is horrific.
Oh, dude, I cannot.
I'm like, no, get back in the ring. Get back in the ring.
Hey, if people were trying to enslave my family, I would have no problem crucifying them either. But
no, but it's the way that he does it that just felt like it was very sadistic.
She really loved him, and then after he got the information.
Yeah.
And like, it's just, I don't know. Jurian is one of he's like evil that the humans have to be able to like protect themselves. But like, because of it innately makes him very untrustworthy. It's kind of like the same like issue that like pitfall that Rhysand's in. Like, you wear a mask and you do evil things enough that people are inherently not going to want to believe your spiel about how good you are. And which makes his whole thing about, when I knew Rhysand, he was like one of the good.
Such a good man.
I do not trust your judgment, sir. You are murking people left and right. Like, it just.
But this is another thing that goes with the fact that Amarin was an Asteri, because he used an Asteri tactic to kill her sister. The crucifixions. Justinian is crucified in Crescent City and hung upside down. Like, obviously, we don't really know if, he just crucified her to the ground or something. But that's an Asteri punishment. Mm-hmm. So he turned their tactics on them and did it to her sister.
Right.
So I'm kind of wondering if Amarantha had been doing that to humans. Because that reminds me of how
Claire. So
I was gonna say that reminds me of how Claire was hanging. That reminds me of how the Children of the Blessed were hanging in the Highburn camp. How Briar was saved because she was hanging like that.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
I just want to say that the Children of the Blessed were Tamlin's spies.
Ooh.
When they say that the Children of the Blessed are in the Spring Court, Tamlin is a good guy. He's taking care of those humans. He's just not killing them. And then when he needed spies, he sent them across the borders.
That means he already knows Briar.
You there? I got a theory for you.
Oh my God, that makes
it
so much better.
Spring Court.
But I do think that he healed her pain like Lucian did to Feyre under the mountain,
right?
Because like she wasn't affected by the burns and lashes on her body. Like, that wouldn't make sense for a human, especially because we saw how Feyre was affected under the mountain. So like somebody had to have healed them, because when Lucian healed her, he was like, oh, I'm gonna leave the markings on you so they don't bother you as much again, but you're pretty much, you can't feel the pain. Right. So I was like, somebody healed her. Who has healing magic but Tamlin?
There's like this whole like healing magic, and this like magic that Rhysand has where it's not healing, but it's taking away the pain. So it's like healing. Is that not so weird? Like, because they're obviously a foil, so I just find it funny. Tamlin can actually heal.
I'm so glad you said that.
It's supposed to not give choices to Feyre, but Rhysand can't heal, and it's fake, and his choices are fake. But
I'm so glad you said that.
Aren't. Like, it's like this weird mirror with them too, and I just like the whole thing is odd.
No, that makes me so glad that you said that, because when I was trying to discuss how my theory was that Rune was Tamlin's son and not Einar's son. I said, like, he gets this really powerful raw healing magic after he takes the antidote.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone's like, well, that comes from Rhys. And I go, no, it doesn't come from Rhys, because that was retconned. Because after the Hybern cauldron scene, they bring back Cassian and Azrael, and Rhys can't heal them. He has to have Mor and Amren try to heal them. He can't heal them.
Can't even heal himself.
Yeah. So I'm like, so Rhys, even if he like healed Farah's arm under the mountain, that was either retconned or it was a different type of magic. It wasn't healing magic.
I find it interesting that Rune is a direct mirror of the top powers that Rhys has, basically, right? And like there's this like indication that like dark powers are supposed to kind of like coincide with like being evil. But you see Rune be able to heal, but you don't see Rhys be able to heal. So Rune is like this proof you can look bad and have bad powers that are associated with evil, but still be able to help people, whereas Rhys doesn't have the ability to help. He has this false help.
Yep.
You can't hear them scream, so they're not really being hurt. Bitch, they're about to die, whether you were taking the pain away or not.
And Rune has literally seeds of Starborn magic. Rhys has no actual Starborn light. I'm like, this is from Tamlin. I will die on this fucking hill that Einar is not his father, that Tamlin is his father. And I want it so much.
Well, that would be why he hates him, too. That could explain all
oh, you're the son I was burdened with, not the one I should have had. And you're not truly my son if you tell this to Bryce. And it's like, that's so suspicious.
You know what? That whole, like, Autumn King thing, I have a theory that I think we're about to find out he wasn't actually as bad as we think he was. And I think he actually knew a lot more that was going on. At least if it was like, it may have been like fragmented and he hasn't pieced it together. But I firmly believe that they're going to like go back to that study and they're going to find some kind of integral information in his room. Because like, what is the point of setting this character up to like,
Olivia was,
and you're just like, we don't want to use it.
Olivia was fucking pissed because the journal and everything got buried under Avalon, and then at the end of the book, Bryce literally turns his entire house into like asylum for poor people.
Right.
So she like, and it says she threw out all of his things, like the orrery and she threw out everything. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, what was the point?
I feel like we got a lot of stuff that's going to be clarified. It has to be. There's so much open.
This secret book has to be the goddamn Lauren Tamlin Rhys book. If it's not,
yes,
it has to be the prequel.
That's going to come. We're getting Elaine and more Nesta.
Yeah, definitely.
Lucian. Tamlin's book is going to be close to the end because he's going to have all the freaking.
It has to be like the Assassin's Blade of Akatar.
Yes,
please.
I feel like Tamlin.
No, I want like a full. I want.
Full prequel.
I want it to be this size. I want this.
Tamlin is going.
This is my Tamlin book.
Yeah.
Tamlin is definitely going to be like a CC3 book because here's the thing: Tamlin's storyline has a lot of like inferred back like room information going on, right?
Yeah.
Where like it's heavy that he was involved in scenes that are very obviously being withheld from us, and I feel like to tie this in, he has a lot of knowledge that we're going to have to tap into, but we can't do that until we set the stage with a lot. So we've got to solidify who's going to be with who first. So I feel like until everybody gets their mated pair and everybody figures out their magic, we're not going to be able to start like tying the ends together. So we got to have Nessa and
That's going to be Tamlin's book. Tamlin's POV is going to be like the time. Let me just tell you what really happened.
Okay, this is where I'm concerned though, because if he has a mate, but then Lauren comes back, what happens?
I want Lauren to be dead. I know Lauren is not dead. She's in CC3, but I want the sister. I want the
I was telling the girls this because Olivia would prefer Lauren to like come back and be his mate, but I wouldn't. I still want Briar to be his mate. I do think it would be nice if she came back with Rune. Rune was actually his son, right? But then they're like, oh, we're going back home. Like our family is back home, and I want to be, our son is married now. I want to be there if he has kids, stuff like that. I don't think that at this point she would really stay in Prithian, but then I don't know because she still doesn't know how to use technology and all this shit. So I'm like, unless they found a way to just world block, which that's also a possibility. Like, I don't know. Because really, if Rhys knew his sister was alive and came back, do you think he would let her leave again?
She might actually be Azrael's sister.
Right.
There's a lot there.
I do think that Azrael was Lauren's confidant. I do think they were probably the closest siblings, and that's why he brings her up more. Because I love that. Because again, I'll say this till the fucking cows come home. Adopted siblings are siblings. They're siblings,
Yes.
So, and especially if Rhys was training with the dad and all this shit as heir, like the sister was like nothing to him. First of all, she was a female, an Illyrian female. technically, I guess. She would probably manifest wings too. She was a problem child because he was dragging her out of Valaris as like a teenager or a young adult, kicking and screaming. Like he's like, get the fuck home. And so I feel like he was really rough on Azriel too, because again, he kept Azriel to be his personal spy master when he was young. So I just feel like they would kind of connect in that way where they're like, they're not the heir, but they're kind of only just there for one purpose.
Honestly, I kind of like the thought of like, what if she came back, the sister, and what if she's like the way that like Rhysand gets called out, and it's like it's not someone that's not a part of the original group. It's someone who's like, that's family. That's someone who, like, I get to call you out no matter, you know.
That was so maybe that's my next point. I want her to be like, why the fuck are you acting like dad now? Like, I want her, like, you still are letting people get clipped after mom, and like, I want her to come back and call him the fuck out on his bullshit.
Absolutely.
So bad.
Please. I want Feyre to wake up and call him out on his bullshit.
It would really mean more if it was Feyre, because not only is she calling him out because no one wants to except for Nesta, it's also that it's her for probably the first instance since her story started that she actually stands up for herself.
Yeah.
In a way that doesn't benefit anybody else but her.
Yeah.
That's the thing. She is all game for helping anybody else and run herself on the ground for it. But when does she actually stand up for just Feyre? She does.
How do you forgive him for doing what he did in Akasif?
You can't.
He's sorry. Really?
I don't. Well, their death pact is not real, so he was going to let her die.
Yeah, I think it's a world walking pact.
What I think it is that I think he needs Nyx for something. Okay, because here's the thing. Feyre and Tamlin didn't really have much of a discussion about kids, right? Rhysand's like, it'll be whenever, you don't have to worry about it, no stress, and they immediately get pregnant.
Rhysand says that the High Lords are going to breed you if they get their hands on you. Like, and Tamlin knew this too. So like,
and I'm convinced that he, like, I have a video about this. I don't know if y'all saw it, but like, I'm convinced that Nyx is the catalyst. I think that he is what's going to kind of tie everything together, and like, it's dependent upon what end of kind of like the prophecy he's in. Like, depending on who gets access to him, he could be used in an awful way. But I mean,
I actually think it would be
child born out of result of direct influence of the cauldron. He is brought to revived and brought full term by influence of the cauldron. So he is literally the first cauldron born child, and we just like, that's not supposed to mean nothing. Like,
I mean, at the same time, I think it would be hilarious if like everyone's like, oh my god, he's gonna have all these crazy powers, and he's just Illyrian. He's just Illyrian.
He's just Illyrian. I would love that so much.
Like, I just want
not even
him
like
to
a really
be
powerful one, just like a basic Illyrian.
And not even athletic. I want him to be a fucking nerd that does not want to go to training, just wants to stay in the library.
He's a basic Illyrian that paints. He's not even a warrior.
I'm convinced he's going to be the first Illyrian that doesn't have to have siphons, but has like immense power. And I think it's going to be like an era of contention for the other Illyrians. I just think a lot of the Rhysand family line, like Feyre cosplaying as Illyrian in front of all of the women and the men who don't want women flying with them. Rhysand choosing when to look Illyrian, them having an Illyrian child that goes through none of the Illyrian experience, right? So they're basically like completely adopting this entire culture and rebranding it, but like in like this like progressive way. And
that's just gonna make the dissension even worse, because if you have an Illyrian child but you're not putting them through any of the Illyrian stuff, like that's gonna be an issue.
Because there's not going to be a true connect to the struggle of that identity.
But I really wish that Nyx would be the one to just like humble them. And I just want him to be like just a good kid who just humbles the shit out of them all the time and can actually see other people's perspectives, which probably that's a huge wish. But I don't know. I just see him as like this basic kid who just wants to live his own life and like isn't really interested in being an heir or a warrior or anything like this.
I think we're not going to get a lot of Nyx as a kid. I think we're going to have a time jump. And I think this time jump's not only going to age Nyx, but I think it's going to do a lot of like, here's the thing. She took a lot of time to give us this like exposition on Rhysand and Feyre, so long that when she started shifting into the sisters, she's not going to be able to give herself that much time to build these characters. So I think with this time jump, we're going to see Nyx age. We're going to see a lot of the issues between some of these like relationships get taken care of. I think once Elaine and her love interest is established, the next book, it's going to be like 10, 15-year jump. And
I wonder,
how to let people get old enough, because here's the thing. Nyx can't be integral to like a plot line as a child. What's he going to do? Sit there and piss and shit and laugh, and then that's
I mean, he could get kidnapped by villains, but like
no, he's not. He's going to play that big of a role. I think he was just there to complete the.
You think so? Yeah, I mean, it could be that simple. Sometimes it really.
I just want him to like. Just think about if your toddler could winnow. Just think about that.
Can you imagine the terror.
Wait, where in Prithian did my child go? And
he's on top of the mountain again. No.
I want him to just be like, I just want him to be like riding Tamlin as beast form, like
Pony.
Sure. Pony. I just see him winnowing to spring just to piss off his parents.
For sure.
And I literally wrote this in the last chapter of my crossover fic, how Nyx winnows to spring, and Tamlin finds him and he's like, what the fuck? And then, of course, Rhys and Feyre come barreling in, and they're like, how dare you kidnap our child? And he's like, I don't want your kid. Like, I just found him in my woods. That's it. I don't want to be bothered. He keeps winnowing here. I was a little annoyed that Sarah never fleshed out Bronn and Hart for Tamlin, because technically they could have been his Cassian and Azriel. Obviously, there's Lucian, but Lucian would kind of be like his Mor.
But Tamlin has friends. He has a big group of very close friends that Feyre didn't want to meet.
Yeah.
So like,
but then like, where are those friends when he's depressed? Like, they just don't.
That's kind of why I'm like, is it really like what's
I
really
think they're just like,
because Lucian was supposed to be with him for the solstice, and then he wasn't. So
yeah, that's true.
Something. I think Tamlin's up to more than what we think he's up to.
Yeah, I
hope.
I think he's really trying to protect the humans with the wall down, along with Tarquin's soldiers, which were apparently sent there to help. But I was really mad that they didn't flesh out like any of Tamlin's like friends, because it was really only Bronn, Hart, and Lucian, and like we got a handful of little scenes with Bronn and Hart, like hardly anything, and then we see them being really pissed off and upset at him in Akawar after Feyre makes the guard get lashed. And then she's like, oh, I knew that if I had asked, they would slit their own throats. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, they were nice to you.
I can't with Feyre. I can't. Like, everybody's like, why are you so mean to her? Like, because she's a terrible person.
She's awful.
Could be awful. under the Fae bargain is terrible.
Yeah.
And then the Damati. So I give her a little bit of leeway, but the stuff she does is
But I have a question for you guys. So do you think we're gonna see Tamlin's arc like in tandem with like Elaine and Lucian, or do you think that we're actually gonna get a whole Tamlin book eventually?
I really want a Tamlin book because I want to know what happened under the mountain.
I know.
I can't help but feel like
Ackerman, because he's dealing with a crazy woman. That Fae bargain is making her go nuts. Everybody knows going nuts because of this Fae bargain. They're trying to tell her.
Yeah.
She's like having nightmares where he's asleep, but then he's standing guard.
Oh, it was a mutual agreement that we don't acknowledge each other's trauma, so we don't let Amarantha win. And everyone, bashes him for that shit. I'm like, she also didn't wake up when he was having his nightmares in cold sweats, turning into a beast.
Yes.
Like,
her story doesn't make any sense. He's either standing guard and beast form, or he's sleeping through your nightmares. What is going on? I need to know. And I gotta know what was happening to him under the mountain.
I know.
I just have this bad feeling that it's going to be like this, like really, really, really small novella, and she's going to gloss over it because she's got so much going on that she's just like that, or it's just going to be an afterthought at the end, and I'm going to be so disappointed because I feel like he holds a lot of integral information that I think is going to tie stuff together, and I feel like she's just going to like gloss, and that's it. And
see, I can never fucking understand her because there are interviews where she's like, "Oh, Tamlin," and "Oh, I don't want to go back to the Spring Court." But then
she plays in interviews. I really plays. Yeah, she likes to add contention.
That's why I never trust author interviews.
I know.
Because you can't tell. She may not look herself. She may not look herself. I know damn well she's got friends out there that are telling her the general vibe of what's going around, and she's just like pouring gas.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I always tell my friends, don't tell me anything about the fandom." I was like, "Okay."
Yes, I don't believe it.
Yeah. But also then she's like, yeah, but then she has that interview where she's like, oh, Tamlin's more than Feyre's narration of him, and he has to go on a journey in this book, which is Akawar. His redemption story is Akawar, people. She has literally said it. He has to go on his journey this book. But that's why I'm concerned. I'm like, was his journey just Akawar?
Oh, yeah.
I'm concerned.
I think he would have been in Akamath if.
Yeah, that would be really funny.
Yeah, but then it's like, but then you're like connecting him to Selene in this weird way, and you're pulling references from book 1 for like not even just Briar, but pulling references for like Selene and everything in Crescent City. And it's like, if you don't want to go back to the Spring Court, why are you pulling references from the Spring Court?
I don't think
I'm confused.
I'm trying to think of another book where you can have an entire book with a main character and then never visit that character again. Like, I don't see that happening. I can't even think of a series that does that.
She does this like occasionally, like just like not going back and like referencing stuff. And I'm wondering how much of this is her doing this versus how much is getting pulled and they're not going to like tie in the loose ends where they pulled things out of. Because a lot of what happened like in CC3 feels that way. It's disjointed, where it was almost like you forgot that when you pull a section of a book out, a storyline, there's like things that are before and after that relate to that. And if you don't adjust those things, it feels like a huge plot hole.
Yeah.
like there's
And how many times does she say in Akasif alone, Tamlin has to be healed to help us with Koshi. Tamlin has to be healed. We have to restore Tamlin. He must be restored. Like 6 or 7 times. He is
something I didn't consider.
Reese has to go check on him to make sure that
check on him to help him heal.
What if Tamlin's story arc, like his healing arc, is like it coincides with his best friend Lucien getting the girl Elaine? So I could see how they could tie that into the next book and it not feel like you're moving too much away from the main plot.
Yeah.
But like,
I've been saying that I think it's probably an illusion.
Gives him a place to stay, and like that's how he's involved. He's just kind of like a background. I don't know. There's a lot of options.
I can't be the background. I gotta know. I need to know.
I do feel like Elaine and Lucian's story is gonna, which I mentioned the other day, is gonna start in night. It's gonna go to either the continent or spring first, and then the other one, and then to the human lands, and then to day, and then maybe a little bit back in night, just to be like, oh, guess what? I'm moving out, Elaine, moving out with my mate. But I do think, I mean, they travel. They're travelers. If they don't travel to more than one court, I will be pissed. That doesn't make sense because she's like, I want to see the tulips in the continent. You know, he's going to need to check in with Jurian and Vasa. He's going to need to check in with Tamlin. Eventually, I would hope in his book with Elaine, he would figure out that Helian's his father and should go check in the day court, you know? So I think that they're just going to be traveling around. But I do think that there will be an arc in spring where whether Elaine has a little bit of like earth magic perhaps or something that maybe Tamlin can help her with, and then she can kind of help him with like his emotional stability or something like that while they all try to rebuild that court for a while. And then
we don't know the full extent of Elaine's powers. We just know that she has seeing abilities, but like seeing ability is so like meshed in with like other types of mental abilities. So she doesn't have some way to like help people heal through.
Exactly.
We don't know exactly what she's going to be able to do. But
she could be like an Irene character.
She very much gives off like Irene vibes. And
I think too. Yeah,
tending to gardens grow. She's creating life. Like, so I feel like she's gonna have some kind of healer ability. Like,
I definitely think that she's gonna help the spring court. And there's so many people that are like pissed about that, but I'm like, it's the only thing that really makes sense for Elaine.
I just had like a epiphany. We know that Tamlin has the healing abilities. What if their art is that Tamlin trains Elaine how to heal, and that's how he gets his redemption? That's how her and Lucien get their time together because Lucien is her escort.
I do think that he's going to train her in something, and then she's going to help him with something else, and they're going to try to rebuild the court.
And it really like it's full circle because she needed it, he has it.
Or what if she has a vision of his mate?
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, she's in the winter court with Vivian.
I really though, that is like my biggest. I cannot figure it out. Like who realistically could be his mate? And like I can't
Briar. It's literally just Briar from this series. I do not see Elaine being his mate. He needs someone tougher than her.
Absolutely. No,
I don't think like she has inner fire, yes. But he needs someone a little tougher than her.
One we've been introduced to. Like it could be Briar because she was like a flyby introduction, but I definitely just don't feel like it's like one of like the main established cast members at all.
That's why I'm saying like if he has an arc in someone else's book, it might just be like again, like it might just be Briar and maybe Elaine.
I want the outrage of him having his own book. I just want that to be announced and just watch the fandom.
Me too.
I will not be.
If he has his own book, the only thing I'm concerned about if he has his own book is like, is she then going to introduce a ton of new Spring Court characters, and how are they going to
actually need to see some Spring Court characters? This guy does have friends. Like, he has an inner circle.
But if she does that just to kill him off and introduce another male Spring Court dude that could take over, I would be pissed.
Yeah.
I definitely don't like the theories of him like just giving up his role
or dying. Like that makes no sense after Act 1.
Like, I found an heir so they can take over. I feel like he needs to have this like succession with being able to like get back into his position as High Lord and it be like respectable for his like view of it. Like feel like he did a good job kind of thing.
Yes. You know? See, I think he has a bigger role because she set up Rhysand and Tamlin to be just so similar but so opposite. Like the person who's going to be able to get Rhysand back back to being a decent person is going to be Tamlin. Probably with Farrah's help. It's going to be the two of them. Because why make this? Why do it this way? Why does he?
Why should it disappear? Such an established background,
and also
supposed to be important.
Tamlin has like such a thing about kids. Like there's like the children's book, and my son will do it like that someday. So I think it would be like really possible for Nyx to maybe be a part of his healing in a way. Maybe not like a super direct way, but definitely in a way.
Like maybe like he gets taken and Tamlin's the one who can get it. Doesn't he have really good track?
Unless Farrah seeks refuge at the Spring Court when Rhysand does his big reveal.
Because it is the furthest court away from the Koshi stuff.
That would be such a Tamlin thing to do because I wouldn't do that either.
What if one true fake mate bond is actually Rhysand and Farrah?
I would love that.
Is that she goes back to Tamlin, and he's actually her true mate in the end.
I have to tell you, who acts like a crazy mate.
He really does.
He does.
He does. And like Rhysand's possession isn't because she's mate. It's like his association with like what she gives her by like being in his vicinity.
Well, now that she's served her purpose, she's been sidelined.
Yeah. I mean, the thought thrills me just because obviously it would screw over Rhys, but also I feel like at this point, after everything she's fucking done to him, like, no.
Well, I mean, I don't know how you can show your face in the spring court.
Yeah, like, do not.
She got the people killed. She killed some of the men. Like
after Akawar, like, do not take her back.
Yes.
Well, that and the fact that she's already had a kid, and that just like really complicates things.
I wouldn't mind if, you know, he gave her like asylum in spring with Nick.
That's what I was thinking. More like she needs help.
She has nothing to do with a relationship with him.
No.
But he would be her High Lord again.
Give her like a guest house. Like,
But it's funny because he would be her High Lord again.
Yeah.
In
the woods with the Sorial.
Yeah. There's a little cottage.
The Weaver's house is open, I hear.
Yeah. there's a stall in the stable.
Okay. Exactly.
Oh god.
But yeah, it's just weird because he's the one that crumbled under the mountain. And according to like Eris and Vesperus, there's like first light cores left under all these mountains.
Right.
So if he crumbled under the mountain, wouldn't it make sense that he's the only one that can like uncrumble it? Like open it up so someone can get that first light core? What? I don't know.
I have to go soon, but I want to ask this question because this is, how do you guys feel about when Tamlin blows up the office?
I think that is
which time. It depends on which time.
Well, honestly, all
of the time, the one that everybody has a problem with.
All of his outbursts to me, I've always correlated with that that scene where Rhysand talks about like if you don't use your magic, it drives you crazy. And he doesn't have a lot of instances or references to see him being trained. Really, like so. I just for me, it always felt like a representation of him not being able to rein it in. And that's the same thing. Like.
Yeah. Well, they all hold in their shit until they explode. Like, why is this only disparaging Tamlin? Like,
right. And you also got to think at this time he's under 2 curses, right? So there's no telling how it's like being really weird on his powers. And he's trying to like get a reign on everything, and he's got like 2 different curses like affecting.
Well, this was in math. This was after the curse.
This is after.
But you have to think he hasn't had his full powers in 50 years either.
Yeah. Right. So there's
and now he's got his heart back too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and his heart back. Yeah.
A lot of lingering things that affect something like that for me.
Yeah.
But also, he calls it his rage, and I didn't ever read it as rage. It seems like a loss of control of power, not like punching a wall, loss of control, but like I'm feeling a lot of emotions.
It was a panic attack.
Crap,
It was a panic attack because
that's kind of how I saw it too.
Because he like everything goes still, and then it just explodes, and then he's literally sobbing on the ground, like next to her. She says like he's sobbing, and he's like, "I'm sorry, like having a fucking mental breakdown in this scene. So it's like, first of all, he can't control it, like. It's not a purposeful action, like not punching someone. Like it just comes out of him. He can't prevent it from happening. But also,
I don't like it compared to a temper tantrum because it feels more like a panic attack to me too.
We'll make that.
But when Tamlin calls it rage, I feel like that's him trying to kind of keep his masculinity in a way, just because
I think that he has a lot of self admonishment. Like
that's how
he has a very poor view of himself, and so much like Farah, which because they're so similar, their first recollection of like anything to do with themselves, it's immediately in a bad light. They're always the worst possible reason I could be doing it must be true. You know, it's just it's wild.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't think he likes being seen as vulnerable. So I think when he is seen as vulnerable, he has to give a reason. And like the most non-vulnerable reason would be, oh, it's just rage. It's just rage. It can't be, oh, it's grief. Oh, it's pain. Oh, it's depression. He's going to say it's rage, just like Nesta does.
Yeah.
Because they have an issue with being vulnerable. So the least vulnerable emotion that they can equate to themselves is rage.
True.
Then that's how I see it.
I do too. I get called an abuse defender for that. She was fine. Like,
she shielded herself
if she didn't have her powers, but it all.
And then they bring up the Akawar one
in the High Lord meeting, which is just so frustrating.
It's the continuity issue because if we're going to see like abuse for abuse, then we have to see abuse for abuse no matter who it's from. Okay, whether it's physical abuse or sexual abuse or mental or emotional. So, like, if we're going to call out Tamlin for abusing her physically because of his outbursts, and we call out Rhysand for mental abuse, for sexual abuse,
physical abuse,
all of it. So he does it too, but there's this distinct
double standard
of accountability, and it's like honestly, I feel like he broke the fourth wall and has like embodied the fandom.
Okay? He did. It's so good. Like I said, like when the fandom like literally quotes him in my comments, I'm like, no, that didn't happen.
Stop.
Like, and this is where I get
context matters.
And I tell people that they're being disingenuous because like context, if you can take any quote and spin it how you want and make it seem like to support whatever you want. But if you, what I always say
has to be supported by the narrative.
Read that sentence with the paragraph before it and the paragraph after it. And if you still have that same sentiment, then in context, you make sense. But if it shifts at any point by reading that surrounding text, then you are misrepresenting it and you're being disingenuous. And it's just really hard to have a good faith conversation with somebody who looks for ways to misrepresent text.
Well, I hate the Aka War explosion more because they'll say that like he did it on purpose and he threw a table at her so hard that he could have crushed her.
No, I thought Akatar was the most
threw a table at her, threw her out the window,
hit her,
fucking all this bullshit. All this bullshit. And I'm like, and then if you say, oh, it was her plan, you're victim blaming. I'm like, no, it was literally her plan.
Holding characters accountable for literal actions that they have taken is not criticizing. Well, I mean, it can get there, but simply just saying this is what they did canonically. If you've got a connection to that meaning that I'm criticizing them, like then that's a you problem because I just don't have the energy to talk.
It's like, how many times does she say in her head, this is leaning into my plan. I can use this for my plan. I'm going to turn everyone against him. I got to ruin the Western Wall and I got to do this and I got to do that.
It's just so weird that she did that. Like, like we all want to have the clothing bonfire when we break up with an ex. Like, okay, but destroy his car, kill people, make it seem like he's abusing you. Like,
you know what really just like blows my mind is this complete disconnect with her morality. Under the mountain, she was losing her entire self-identity for killing those innocents. And then she's responsible for people dying left and right.
She's a cardboard cutout of Reese at this point. That's why. She's just, and it's funny because right before she gets back to the Spring Court, one of the last, I think it might have been the last chapter of Akamath, Reese is like, oh, and then I'll help my mate destroy the Spring Court from the inside out. And what does she say in one of the first chapters of Akawar? I'm going to destroy the Spring Court from the inside out. I'm like, it's the same fucking quote.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because Amarantha and Rhysand say a lot of the same things too. So, and then when I question that relationship, it's like, forget it. But But the one really unforgivable thing that Feyre did is when Feyre lied about being sexually assaulted and then got mad at Tamlin and Rhysand
for believing them.
Her.
Tamlin and Lucian.
Tamlin and Lucian for believing her.
I hate that.
That was just that unforgivable. When people talk about all like how I'm an abuse defender and I say all this about SA, I'm like, your girlfriend freaking lied. Like, you want to talk about a current event that we are all dealing with.
And also, she supposedly hates Ianthe so much, but she goaded Ianthe into blackmailing and framing that sentry, which got him lashed, held his mind and his tongue so he couldn't speak, and then plays the poor little...
Oh, look how bad Tamlin is.
I can't believe he did that to you and is washing his cuts. And it's like, you're the reason.
Yes.
What?
Well, the reason the sentries had to get killed is because they allowed the lady of the Spring Court to get kidnapped.
Yeah.
Wow.
But no, she lied. She lied about that.
I just want to say, Feyre's whole thing in the Spring Court is like her applying this like masterclass of like manipulation that she learned from Rhysand. That so Reese coded that
it is so Reese coded. That's why I give her kind of the benefit of the doubt because
I feel like honestly,
it's not this girl we used to know.
No,
he was definitely in her head.
Being Madi the whole time and control doing that, and I would
100%.
believe it. His motive.
Yeah,
and I think that's why Tamlin looks so crazy because Tamlin knows what's going on.
Right, for sure.
Bye.